You're tuning into the High Performance Path podcast, and I'm your host, Alex. If you want to increase your productivity, enhance your mental performance, hack your sleep, and build a bulletproof body, then you're in the right place. Get ready as we dive into interviews with performance coaches, business owners, and health professionals to find out their daily routines, habits, and movement practices. All right, let's go. So have you ever been on a podcast?
Yeah, twice.
Oh, which ones?
The New Strength one?
With Jacob?
Yep.
Yeah.
And also one with Ellen from Mind Body Performance
Cool.
Gym. Yeah.
I know Jacob, he's actually been on my podcast.
Yeah, nice.
Ellen, are they local?
She's in Cardiff. That's where she's based.
Yeah, nice.
So it's just an all women's gym, and she just had me on. But that was during COVID as well, so it was online.
Oh, yep, over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's get into it. Where should we start? I want to actually ask you about your weightlifting. I know you're getting pretty into your weightlifting.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into that a little bit. So should we first talk about your fitness goals, your current goals?
Yeah, for sure. So at the moment, my biggest goal this year was to compete at States, and that was last weekend or the weekend before, and that was super fun, huge success. So that was really kind of building up to competing at States.
Nice. How long was that goal set for? Like, how long ago did you set that?
It would have been since I competed at an open comp to be able to qualify for it. So that would have been in March. So then working to States just now in end of May. So yeah, a long work in progress. But then now I've actually got a comp this weekend again. So it's just about trying to maintain that strength, maintain that drive for another 2 weeks to then be able to compete on Saturday.
Nice.
So yeah, and then after that, I think it really depends on what happens with my move and everything like that when I move to New Zealand. So
yeah, I want to get into that a little bit later. So just to clarify for the people listening, when we say weightlifting, we're actually talking about Olympic lifting, which involves two competition lifts, the snatch and the clean and jerk. I just wanted to clarify that because I get into conversations all the time with people that say, "Oh yeah, I do weightlifting." I'm like, "Do you mean like Olympic lifting or like lifting weights?" And they're like, "Oh, lifting weights. What's Olympic lifting?" So I just wanted to clarify. So how'd you get into weightlifting?
It all started really when I started CrossFit, and that was October 2019. So just under 2 years, 2 years ago. And
same way I found it.
Yeah? Oh, nice.
I think CrossFit's been really good for the sport of weightlifting.
100%.
Because it isn't even though it is an Olympic sport and it's been in the Olympics for, I don't know how long, but a long time. It's been there for a long time. It's not really a popular sport, but I think CrossFit has made it kind of popular. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I was pretty strong going into it. Like I'd done a few years of kind of powerlifting style training beforehand. And it was just the most frustrating thing to get into CrossFit and go straight back to the barbell and have no idea what I'm doing with it. Like trying to get it straight from the floor to overhead. Such a complex movement, both the snatch and the clean and jerk. So I think it was really just the struggle in CrossFit that made me think, right, I really want to get this right. And I really want to put my strength to use and be able to carry that over to the more complex movements. And so that's why I then reached out to, there was actually a weightlifting section of the gym, the CrossFit Hunter gym that I'm at the time. And so the weightlifting coach there took me on board and essentially said from the start, all of my athletes compete. And so that was quite overwhelming to, just start participating with like that kind of mindset.
So that was like if you're coached by me, you're going to compete.
Yeah, pretty
basically.
much.
Wow.
But I jumped straight into it. I took that as an opportunity to kind of challenge myself. Here I am I officially started after COVID. So it's only been like a year and a bit that I've been coached for weightlifting. And yeah, so far it's been going really well and I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing really well.
Thanks.
Um, I forgot what I was going to say then, but there's a few things I want to dive into. You mentioned you did powerlifting
Yep.
before you did CrossFit. So I want to get a bit of oh, that's right. I wanted to go through, we'll do this later, but I wanted to go through your experience of your first comp, and I wanted to hear how the experience was and how a day kind of looks at a weightlifting comp. Before we get into that, I want to ask you a bit about powerlifting and your background in fitness and where has it kind of come from? Have you always been a sporty kid, or have you found fitness later in life? How have we got to where we are today with the love of weightlifting?
Yeah, so I started mostly horse riding and doing all the sports there are, like tennis and soccer and even baseball for like 6 seasons. And it was just for the fun of it. Like I've always kind of been an active kid, and my brother and sister are stupidly active as well. My sister does long distance running at the moment, and my brother still competes in downhill mountain biking. So there's a bit of a competitive streak that runs through the family there. I'd never really found my thing when I was growing up, and so I remember going to the gym with one of my friends at the Norwegian school because I grew up in Norway, and she showed me how to deadlift. And I remember there were two 10 plates, like 10-kilo plates on either side, and it was the heaviest thing I'd ever picked up. And after that, shortly after that, I was actually then coming to Australia to study. So I thought, right, this is my time to figure out what my thing is. Because on like when I was trying to keep up with my brother and sister from an aerobic capacity point of view, that was always a bit of a struggle. It was never my strong suit. And so I thought, right, let's try a bit of power stuff. Let's try a bit of heavy stuff. And 100% fell into it, like in love with it when I was at uni.
Here in Newcastle?
Yeah. So that was then 4 years of opportunity for me to pretty much go solo and work on my strength at the gym, just at the forum. So
Nice.
that's kind of where it started.
What did you
Um,
study?
oh, I studied physio.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm a working physio at the moment.
Yep. Had you studied did you say Norway you were
Yeah,
from? Did you study in Norway first?
no. So I just went straight from high school to physio here.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then the training that I had during physio didn't really have much direction to it. And that's kind of what led me to reaching out to like the Movement Collective and training there for half a year. And then eventually being like, no, I want something a little bit more high intensity, a little bit more complex, a little bit heavier. And then CrossFit, yeah, CrossFit was there. And I can't believe I didn't jump into it earlier. But at the same time, I couldn't be more grateful that I just had those 4 years to build that solid strength foundation. Because a lot of even what I do as a physio in the clinic with strength and conditioning, a lot of that stems from the things I've learned over the 4 years, just from my own personal interest.
And experimenting on yourself.
Yeah,
Did,
100%.
did you experiment like doing your own programming and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I followed a lot of different programs online to start, just I guess like anyone does really. But eventually just tested it out on myself and got my like PT certificate, which didn't teach me all that much.
So
But
you did that while you were studying to be a physio?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
just because I was just a bit disappointed with how little we were taught in like the strength and conditioning realm.
In the physio
In
degree?
physio, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like hospital-based stuff, which I find absolutely fascinating as well. But because I was keen to go into the musculoskeletal private practice strength and conditioning kind of area, that's why I was like, well, I'll just do my PT on the side, try and learn as much as I can from that.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? Because you can get into physio like you did, straight into physio, or another pathway in is to do a Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science and then Masters of Physio. And because there's a few different pathways to get into it, I was talking to a friend who has done physio, He's finished his degree. Arlen, do you know Arlen? Arlen Osborne.
Yeah. Oh, name rings a bell.
He just finished it start of this year. So not too long ago.
Okay.
You might not know him. You might have finished a bit before him.
Mm.
Anyway, I was talking to him a little bit about different pathways to do it and stuff, and he said, yeah, the physio is actually very like more like clinical hospital based stuff, which is great, but you miss a lot of the strength conditioning and sports science part because a lot of that's covered in exercise sports science.
Yeah.
And if that's really what you're more interested in, he said that may be a better pathway to do an exercise science degree and then masters of physio rather than going straight into physio. If your interest is like the sports science aspect. And I thought that was quite interesting because I wouldn't have known that.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's very, very valid, and I almost wish I'd done it that way. If I hadn't been like personally interested in it.
Interesting. How did you find balancing your training with all your uni work?
I think that was fine. I think it was balancing like my interest in the gym, my friends' interest in like doing outdoorsy stuff like surfing and hiking and mountain biking, and wanting to still be a part of that as well as then doing my uni stuff. So
yeah, okay, trying to fit all this stuff in that you like.
Just because like absolutely I want to do the surfing stuff, the trips and everything like that. And I wasn't as serious with I guess I didn't have as much structure to my gym training as I do now. So I could be a little bit lenient with that.
Yeah, okay.
But I definitely saw it as 3 different things I had to balance out.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's move on to the weightlifting meet, they call it. So talk me through your kind of daily prep for the meet. How did I guess I want to just know from your experience from doing it the first time, what were you expecting? And then what are your thoughts after like reflecting back on the day, and what would you do different?
So my first weightlifting competition was incredibly overwhelming.
Is it?
Yeah, because I didn't realize it at the time, but I signed up to the one in Sydney Olympic Park.
You didn't realize?
At the Key Centre. Well, I mean, I knew it was in Sydney and I knew it was the Olympic Park, but I didn't realize I'd never been there before, and it was massive.
Okay.
And I remember just rocking up there and just looking at all the different like areas of Sydney Olympic Park. And
so you'd never been to that before?
no,
Yeah.
first time. Yeah. And man, I was just absolutely mind blown with how like grand everything was. And so, yeah.
They used to hold the regionals there.
Oh, really?
Oh, was it there? They held it there one year, I'm pretty sure. It used to be in
I wouldn't be
Wollongong,
surprised.
the
Yeah,
CrossFit
okay.
regionals, and then am I getting this mixed up? No, I remember going to Sydney to watch something there. It was the regionals. They moved it from Wollongong. I could be getting this wrong.
Yeah.
But
well, I wouldn't be surprised because there's definitely like enough space there for everything.
Yeah, they've got some good facilities there.
Mm.
So sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
no,
Where were you?
So I'd packed like my breakfast and my lunch, but I hadn't packed anything like any quick sugars, like anything to quickly have. I just packed my normal sort of, sweet potato and fish kind of thing. And I just didn't know what to expect. And then the comp itself went pretty badly, like, because my first lift was, I had such light weights because I'd only been going for about 6 months at the time.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a good strategy though, to have light weights for your first comp.
Oh, 100%.
I'll wait until your reflections at the end of this.
Well, yeah, it was like, because the weights were so small, they put my barbell on a stand because I was only on like the 2.5 plates on either end. I think I started at like 30.
Oh,
and so
right. So they had to lift the barbell up so that it was at the correct starting position.
100%. And that completely threw me off. Like, I started miles away from the bar. Like, I set up so far away from the bar. And of course the barbell, like the line just went way off and I pretty much just lost the thing over my head. It was a bad start to the comp. But Yeah, then the next one I hit it, and I hit the 40 kilo lift after that. That was like with the bigger
Is this
plates.
the snatch or the clean and jerk?
This is the
The
snatch.
snatch. They always do the snatch first, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Snatch first.
I haven't done a weightlifting comp before.
Oh, you
So
should.
I've watched a few. Yeah, I really do. I
Mm.
really want to when I can dedicate a chunk of time to focusing on that goal,
Yeah.
which I will do soon.
Cool.
But yeah, so they do the snatch first.
Mm.
So your second lift,
Yeah.
got the second lift.
Got the second lift, got the third one, and it was way easier with the bigger plates. And then, yeah, clean and jerk went all right. My jerks have always been a weak point, so that was definitely highlighted there. But I'm pretty sure I hit all the three for that. And again, lightweight's like nothing too crazy, but just a good place to start. And I think it was just the support of my coach at the time. He was by my side every step of the way. He was determining, because the tricky part is the behind the scenes of the actual lifts, because you really need to time your warm up lifts when, like, depending on how much time we get in the warm up. And that's
how long apart are all the lifts? It can be a pretty long day, right?
yeah. So I think we have like weigh in, for example, at 9. You have to select what weight category you go in, and then an hour later you actually present. So you all stand up on stage, and then you go into the warm up room, and that's when you start warming up. And I think they give you about 10 minutes before the first person lifts. But then you have to think, right, if there's 4 people before me, for example, because they never take weight off the bar, they only increase weight on the bar.
As in, you're not allowed to take weight off
No.
once you've written what weight you're going to hit.
Yeah.
So for your first lift, if you miss it, you can't go down for your second or third, right?
No. You have to either stay at that
Yeah.
weight, or you can go up to buy yourself more time.
Yeah.
But it's just challenging to like time when you do your warm up lifts, depending on how many lifts are before you. So that's kind of what having a coach there is so helpful for.
Someone who knows the game, knows the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think after that I was just beaming. I was so happy that I'd done that, and it was just such a good experience.
As in the overall day.
Yeah. Even though it was a bit of a rubbish performance looking back, but I mean,
hey, it's your first one.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Something that not many people can do.
Yeah, I was just super
or can
stoked.
say that they've done.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a powerlifting, mate?
No, I haven't.
No? Is that maybe next on the goals?
Oh, maybe. I think something I've like always kind of overlooked a little bit is bench press. So I've got a pretty strong deadlift and back squat, but bench I would certainly need to work on that a little bit.
Do you think I mean, a lot of the training would carry over. I mean, the goal, getting your snatch and your clean and jerk numbers up is a bit of technique, but ultimately you got to increase your strength as well, because you need to be able to overhead squat or front squat the weight up. So if you're increasing your front squat and your back squat, that should carry over to your back squat at least, and to your deadlift a bit. Yeah. Which doesn't really help you if you want to focus on your bench press.
Yeah. That's okay. We do some bench press and CrossFit, so.
Yeah. Maybe. More than what there used to be. Bench press used to be like frowned upon in
really?
CrossFit gyms. Well, back in when CrossFit first came on the scene, well, I wouldn't say when it first came on the scene, but CrossFit used to be like anti anything to do with Globo gyms. So like anti mirrors, anti bicep curls, anti bench press, just to kind of be like, oh, we don't do that here. We're just functional, quote unquote, functional fitness.
Yeah.
That has changed since, and people realize that although bench press isn't functional, it does have carryover to pressing overhead and pressing strength in general, which is functional. It does help you for other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Which takes me to handstands. Let's talk about gymnastics.
Yeah.
Have you done much gymnastics training?
No, I mean, besides from the 6 months at the Movement Collective, I'd never even attempted a handstand before. Everything was new to me.
You have a pretty good handstand.
Thanks.
I remember we had a handstand comp that was I didn't actually know that it was a handstand comp
No, that's right. I remember.
until it started. But
Yeah.
I can't actually hold a static handstand.
Yeah.
I can handstand walk
Mm.
because I was introduced to that through CrossFit and doing handstand push-ups, but there is never static handstand holds in CrossFit.
I remember
Actually,
filming it and you kept going out of the screen.
yeah, so I was like walking on the spot.
Mm.
As I was like, well, I can't handstand, but I can try and walk
Yeah.
on the spot
So cool.
and just shift from left hand to right hand. And so
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. And it wasn't really a proper handstand, so you beat me at that one, just to
Well, it
clarify.
counts.
I want to. Are you a big reader?
Yeah, I do. I do like to read.
I like to get a book recommendation from all the guests that come on the podcast.
Okay.
It could be related to anything. So, is there a book that has stood out to you the last however long that you think would be a good recommendation?
Well, I've been recently loving books by Ryan Holiday. I don't know if you've heard
Great
of
author.
him. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's called Life of the Stoics. I've been reading that as
The
well.
Daily Stoic?
I think he might have written that as well.
Is Life of the Stoics a new one?
I'm not sure when it was
Okay.
published, actually. I think it was after. It's the latest. I think it is the latest one.
Yeah, because I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's good. I really like it. It's more of a history book about Stoicism, like where it originated from, how
That's
it
cool.
developed.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
I find that, yeah, and that stuff I really like. And I like anything history just because I never was really taught it at school. Like I didn't have history growing up.
Didn't you have history class in high school?
No, not really. Like we had Norwegian, and so we were taught Norwegian history. But just
is that Norway trying to suppress the youth and not teach them
maybe
about
just
the history of the world?
super patriotic. Just nothing else happens outside of Norway. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I think only thing I remember is being taught about the Cold War and not even like First or Second World War, nothing like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so any books kind of on history, I like to nerd out a little bit with that. I also like The Obstacles Away by him. Big
really
fan.
good book.
Just super easy to read, super motivating. Like, yeah, gets me in the zone. And lately, I've been also reading Working Hard, Hardly Working by Grace Beverley. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a bit of an influencer, but her book's actually really good. I'm really happy with it. And then
She's an influencer as in like social media.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I was quite skeptical when I started reading it,
Yeah.
but I'm actually quite happy with it. It's definitely helps like get you in the zone for working and kind of knowing how to increase productivity and things like that.
Okay.
And then another one that I've been nerding out on a little bit is called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers.
Robert Sapolsky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good book.
Good book.
Yeah, I started off like I'm actually listening to it, and I started off thinking like, man, I don't know about this.
It's pretty big because I haven't listened to it, but I have it on Audible as well.
Yeah.
It's like what, 17 hours or something?
It's a fair, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't quite finished it.
Yeah, I'm about halfway.
Yeah, so
yeah, a work in progress.
so what's that about again?
So it's just looking at the impact of like stress on your body. It might be a little bit like sciencey or a lot of difficult terminology in there as well if you're not used to
I
that.
think it can be a bit dry if you're not into reading a lot of like kind of scientific literature stuff. But if anyone studied exercise science or physiotherapy or is even interested in any like sports science,
yeah,
you'll like this book.
Yeah, or even like med students. Like I have a few med students because I used to live with them when I was at uni, and it's just they're just raving about it. They love that stuff. And yeah, it's evidence based, and it just really puts it all quite nicely into perspective.
About stress on the body and stuff, and
and
the fight or flight your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems and what happens because we're not living, the way we evolved to survive was, we have these mechanisms in place that happen and that cause us to either fight for our life or
Mm-hmm.
run for our life. It's for survival. And these systems are activated throughout the day from stress, but we're not in life or death situations. Our body doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And spending too long in these sympathetic states can cause havoc on like all your hormones, and just it can mess your sleep, and then it can prolong the issues.
Mm.
And it's all just, you know, it's there for our survival. But if you don't really understand it, you can, you know, it can go pear-shaped. But it's good to have an understanding of just how the body works. That stuff really fascinates me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. All right. Let me just get up what I was going to dive into next. Recovery. I want to ask you any tips or what you do for recovery so that you can train, because we all know, you know, you can only train so much and then you're going to crash and burn. But if you can recover more, then you can train more.
Yep.
So is there anything that you do for recovery in particular?
Well, I definitely learned the hard way in terms of not allowing my body to recover enough. So last year I got glandular fever, or otherwise known
Really?
as mononucleosis, or the kissing disease,
Yeah.
Epstein-Barr virus.
I had that when I was in early high school.
Yeah, a lot of people get it earlier on. And
So you
anyway,
had it last year.
yeah, I had it last year. It was during COVID, during lockdown. And I really think, like, yes, it's a virus, but I really think that also stemmed from just putting my body through such high stress with, training multiple times a day. Like, this would have been maybe 4 months after starting CrossFit, and I was training like 2 times a day at least. And I was really struggling to have any sort of days of doing nothing and just allowing my body to recover, eating enough, all of that kind of thing. So when I came down with mononucleosis, it just, hit me like a ton of bricks. 2 weeks in bed, and then just really gradual, like, exposure to increasing stressors. So anything like going out for a walk and then building up my tolerance to get my heart rate up again.
It can hang around for like, it can be like a 12-month
Yeah,
recovery, can't it?
yeah, it can be
Yeah.
a slow recovery. I think mine was pretty good. Like, I was kind of back to training at the 6-month mark.
It does help if you start off being healthy and fit
Mm,
when these things happen, like just injuries in general. It's easier to get back to,
yeah,
100%, well, not 100%, but it's easier to get back, to bounce back, the fitter and healthier you are.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So I think that's why I was quite lucky with it. But yeah, so I think ever since then, the main thing I prioritize is sleep. So I really just make sure I go to sleep early. So I'm normally in bed at about 8:30 or 9.
That's right. I
And
love to hear that.
it's great. And then I get up at about, it depends on when I train. If I train in the morning, about 5:30, but otherwise 6:30 typically. So yeah, good night's sleep. That's what I like to prioritize first. And then it's just about getting enough food in, drinking enough, making sure you
Not
take.
alcohol.
Yeah,
Drink
no,
enough water.
yeah, I know. I may need to take that advice every now and again. Absolutely water, and taking your rest days when you need it. Like, if I think being smart about how you increase your tolerance to higher amounts of volume, if you do want to do more training than like 4 or 5 times a week, if you want to be doing double days, if you want to be training more than that, like, you're physically capable of that, but you just need to make sure that you're conditioning your body, or you're prepping your body to be able to tolerate that and
And work
sustain
up
that.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
definitely
that's,
can be done.
yeah. Yeah. And so that's what I did. Instead of ramping it up in a couple months, like after having started CrossFit, I then was like, right, after that glandular fever episode, I took a long time to slowly build up to where I am now, where I can do that and recover well. And yeah, and that's by really looking at the fundamentals in terms of good sleep, good nutrition, good hydration. A lot of people, especially, I guess, as a physio, a lot of people ask me, oh, do you get massages? Do you get dry needling, like cupping, all of that kind of thing? And I think I look at that stuff as like the 1%.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't consider myself elite enough to justify getting that done necessarily. I think I'm still trying to nail the fundamentals
The
in my
big
day
bang
to
for your
day.
buck things,
Yeah,
like sleep, nutrition.
100%. And that's all free. So instead of like, spending any bucks on a session like that, I like to focus on everything else. And it's the same with my clients if they're rehabbing. Like I don't often go to those, you know, temporary but quick fixes. It's more like, right, let's break it down and look at the fundamentals and work on building that back up. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. You mentioned nutrition. Did you have you ever eaten for uh, how do I want to word this? I want to talk a bit about eating for performance and the difference between eating for like aesthetics. Have you ever counted calories or macros?
Yes.
Yeah. So have you ever done that for an aesthetic reason,
Yeah.
or have you and you have done it for performance reasons as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about the difference?
Yeah. So I did a lot of my research online. Like I never actually reached out for a
Like
coach
a
to
coach,
help me with any nutrition stuff. So that was a lot of trial and error, and of course, just like anyone
self-experimentation.
else, yeah.
Hmm.
And just like anyone else, I think I underestimated how much I needed to start off with.
Yeah, I definitely
So
did that.
yeah, and it's looking back, it's kind of scary how everyone does it and how
Mm.
everyone kind of tends to fall into that trap. But recently, like since I started weightlifting, for once I needed to, reach a certain. Well, actually, I didn't need to reach a certain goal because my coach and I decided that I'd go in the weight class above, so I didn't have to stress about cutting
Mm.
like a few weeks before my comp
Yep.
whilst I'm trying to maintain strength.
Really good point. I was actually going to ask that, and I forgot to ask that when you were going through your comp prep.
Mm,
I was going to ask if you tried to fit into a weight category because I've heard for your very first comp, good advice that I've heard is don't try and cut any weight. It's just extra pressure that you don't really need for your first comp. Just go in whatever weight class you fit in and just focus on the experience and hitting your lifts on that day.
yeah.
So you didn't, so for your first comp, you didn't try and
Mm.
fit into a weight category?
No, I went into the weight class above, so if I tried, I could go under 70, like in the 71 kilo
I was going to
category.
say, you don't have to say if you don't want to,
Oh,
but
no, I'm absolutely fine with it. I sit comfortably at 72 though.
yep.
So I'm a light 76 kilo category
Okay.
lifter.
What do you know what are the different categories in the female
Oh,
side at least?
I never really paid attention outside of mine. I think it's like,
Well, what's yours and then the one above and below?
so mine is 76, the one below is 71.
Yep.
And then I think it must be like 65 or 66. And then
Okay.
the one
Yep.
above that is 81.
Yep. I can't remember if the males are the same categories. Just yeah, I'm
Sure.
not sure. They did change the categories a couple years ago,
Oh, did they?
and they actually changed it to what they changed it to was like I would fit very comfortably right at one of them. So I was like, yes, now I'm
Yeah.
going to go on a comp, and I just haven't yet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think they
nice.
changed it to like yeah, I can't remember, but
Mm,
so you could quite comfortably sit at 72. So you could lose 1 kilo and be in the
in the one
weight
below.
category below quite easy.
Yeah, well, in my second comp, I actually weighed in under 71. I was at
Yeah.
70.4, and they kind of said, all right, you've got 10 minutes to weigh back in, and you have to be above 71.
Have
Because,
to be above it.
yeah, because so I was in the 76 kilo
Oh,
category,
but you
but
you
I
weighed
weighed
in
in,
at the one below.
yeah, so I weighed in at 70.4, and then I was like, shoot, okay.
So you had to what, drink heaps of water?
Yeah, I just went out, I got my hair wet, I drank like a liter of water, so I needed to pee at all stages during that comp. And I just ate a banana and then weighed back in, and I was like 71.6, I think.
Okay.
Because the thing is, if you don't, if you don't actually weigh in your weight category, then you just can't compete, and it doesn't matter if it was the one below or
Really?
the one
So you're
above.
just disqualified?
Yeah,
How much before the lifting is the weigh-in? Is it the day
an
of?
hour. Yeah.
Okay. At least it's the day of.
Oh, but it sucks if you're like presenting or if you're actually lifting at say 6 and your weigh-in is at 5 p.m. and you're in a class where you need a cut and you can't, like, you have to eat minimally during the
Yeah.
day. That's what
And
a
then
lot
you're
of the
going to be
guys have had to
fatigued
do.
because you won't have time for a meal.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
And you just have to, stuff as much in after the weigh-in and then just hope that that translates to actually feeling strong on the platform.
What do you prefer out of the two lifts, snatch or the clean and jerk?
I keep changing my mind.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm strong in the clean because I've always been strong with deadlifts.
Like deadlifts and...
Weak in the jerk. So probably jerk's my least favorite.
Yep.
And then I have a love-hate relationship with snatch.
Me too.
So, yeah.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
When I first got the technique of the snatch and it felt good, I loved it. I could not wait to do every snatch workout that I had. It was my favorite. But then it kind of changed. My wrist started to hurt. Mobility wasn't as good as it used to be. And I actually started to PB my clean. And then I'm like, oh, I used to love the snatch. I don't really like it anymore. I prefer the clean and jerk now. Don't know why. Just I go between them as well.
I like how you lift heavier when you clean and jerk. I think that's always satisfying.
Lifting a heavier weight. Yeah. Yeah, it is cool. So when's your next comp? You said this coming weekend.
Yeah, so it's on Saturday.
Which is in 2 days.
Yep.
Where's this one at?
It's actually just at UBF, so Urban Based Fitness. That's where my coach comes from, actually. So
shout out to those guys there.
Yeah, absolutely, Brent Taylor. He's great. And yeah, so he's going to be coaching me through that. But this one's a little bit more of just a casual open comp, so it's not as intense as States.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, it'd be good if this podcast was, because this will probably come out next week, which will be just too late for people listening to go in it. They'll be hearing about it, and it would have just happened, which is unfortunate, but that's all right.
Takes the pressure off.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're moving overseas shortly. So tell the listeners where you're heading.
Yeah, so I'm actually heading to Dunedin, South Island, New Zealand. And it's more just because my visa expired here, and it just gave me a bit of an opportunity to kind of reflect and see where I was in life and whether I was just getting everything that I wanted out of the opportunities that I had here. And I'm always up for a bit of a challenge, bit of an adventure. So I figured New Zealand would be a good next stop.
Have you been before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother and sister live there at the moment.
Nice.
Christchurch and Queenstown. And although I got jobs in both of those places, I was like, oh, maybe a little bit too close for comfort.
What, to your brother and sisters?
Sister.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them to bits, but I also like to do my own thing. So Dunedin, it was halfway in between the two.
Nice.
And yeah, I've heard great things. Like I've heard it's going to be very wet. I've kind of come to terms with that, apparently.
What, in just the place in, how do you
Dunedin?
say? Dunedin?
Yeah.
Where it's just a wet kind of climate?
A wet place. Yeah. So, but I guess it's nothing different to Stavanger, where I grew up in Norway. It was just raining 24/7. So yeah, and I think apparently the weightlifting and CrossFit scene there is pretty good. It's a student city, so I might even be able to get some research in, because I work in research at the moment as well, and I was hoping that I could maybe explore that area there.
Nice.
At the uni. So yeah.
Exciting.
Definitely.
Exciting. I haven't been to the South Island in New Zealand. I've been to the North Island twice, 3 times. Yet to go to the South.
Well, definitely hit me up if you're there, because it's definitely amazing. I've been to both islands.
I think I'd like the South more.
Yeah, I think you might as well.
Just because it's it's similar to like Tasmania. Well, not really similar, but like it's down south.
Yeah.
There's more kind of greenery and waterfalls.
Yeah. more skiing, more
The
snow.
North Island's still nice, really nice. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully the borders don't stay. Hopefully the borders open up and we can get a bit of travel in soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just holding my breath and hoping that the borders stay open for my departure.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
We got to wrap things up before we sign off for the day. Is there anyone you want to give shout outs to, or that's helped with your coaching, or any gyms you've trained at which are good? And then what's your social media for the listeners if they want to follow your weightlifting?
All right. So big shout out for Brent Taylor at Urban Based Fitness. Absolutely. He's helped me so much in the last year of my weightlifting, as well as Alex Ward from CrossFit Hunter. And then the fam at Newcastle Performance Physio, probably the hardest part about leaving is leaving the crew there. I'm going to miss them very much. Yeah, and then where to find me? I'm quite active on Instagram. You can follow me at BONGIBBZ, Bonnie Gibbs. And yeah, Bonnie Gibbs on Facebook.
Cool. I'll put all that stuff in the show notes, as well as the books that Bonnie recommended too.
Enjoy.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Bonnie.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, please take a screenshot and share it. I'd love to see who's listening. And also, please subscribe and give a rating on iTunes. Sending positive vibes to everyone out there. Thanks heaps for listening.